What made me decide to go full on with my grind? Well, I think like in life, there's you could have a plan B, but I don't think having a plan B is worth it for a lot of people because like plan A should always be your main focus. And I think it's like that image of the two people who are both digging for diamonds and one person gives up, but the diamond is right there, and the other person kept digging, he found the diamond. I think it's just like that. I think everybody, if you have a passion in this life and there's something that you want to achieve, it's achievable. Because everybody I feel like who wants something, whether it's in music, film, entertainment, or in any other lane, the moment to level up and to reach and become the person you were meant to be, like that opportunity exists there for you. It's just knowing when that opportunity is and just realizing that sometimes that opportunity isn't going to come in 1 month, 2 months, maybe not even in 2 or 3 years, but you really have to grind and keep working for it.
On the radar, DJ Will. Let's do it.
A lot of that comes from Angie. Yes, sir, baby. It's Gabe P, aka Mr. On the Radar Radio, aka Mr. Step In, Step Out, Don't Get Stepped On. Shout out my guy, Gems. Make sure you follow Daily Gems, subscribe to Daily Gems for exclusive content weekly. Go fuck with them, go show them some love, go show them support. Love is free, support is free, but y'all already knew that. It's On the Radar, baby. Bye. Man, so I spent half of my life in Queens, half my life in Long Island, college in Queens, high school and all that in Long Island. Growing up for me, man, it was, coming from a Puerto Rican household, especially, from parents who have really, grown up to being second generation in America is an interesting thing because, you coming from a background of people who have really given their entire lives and their energies to better, the position of their family, and for me to this day. So it's interesting kind of looking back on my childhood and growing up and even all the time I spent, living or being out here in Brooklyn with my abuela when my parents weren't around to take care of me. And I think of all the sacrifices they made to put me here, which is why like the position that I'm in with On the Radar and in the music industry is it's like poetic and also kind of a blessing in a way because I feel like it's a natural evolution of what my folks wanted for me and for, for my family. I think like every generation should always try to build upon the next generation, and I'm blessed that to some extent my father has taught me the benefits and the great things about generational wealth. So what I'm trying to do with On the Radar and with my legacy in this industry is not just for me, it's for the 4, 5, 6 generations of people that come after me and my family. So growing up, it was a lot of just I felt like it was all preparation for this and for what we're doing now and just kind of being able to lay the foundation, not just for me, but for the future.
On the radar, DJ Will. Let's do it.
So my radio inspiration, some of the people who helped me get into radio and who I look up to, of course, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Angie Martinez. I came up under Angie Martinez as an intern. And she really, even the way that I do interviews and certain things like that and how I converse with artists and even how my outlook on the industry and, sitting down with artists and doing these freestyles, a lot of that comes from Angie. And a lot of the way that I do content and the way I look at On the Radar and how we do On the Radar kind of stems from like Stretch and Bobbito. You know what I'm saying? Stretch and Bobbito, if you don't know Stretch and Bobbito and you in hip hop, what are you doing? Do your hip hop history, you know what I'm saying? Legendary Columbia radio station hosts. They're still around to this day. They laid the foundation for a lot of early hip-hop in New York, and I love giving them their flowers because they are incredible. And then, of course, like the Flexes of the world with the freestyles, the Tim Westwoods in the UK, the Charlie Slots, all those people. I feel like On the Radar is kind of like an amalgamation of everything that's come before us. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not trying to be anybody, but we take inspiration from everybody who's laid the foundation to create a platform that we have to this day. So I'll say all them, and of course, like on the social media side, like because social media is such an important part of what we do with On the Radar and such an important part of the growth of On the Radar. I gotta say my OG Honey German, who's at Pound 5, she's also on there, and she taught me everything I knew about social media. So while everybody else laid the foundation for what I do with the freestyles, with the on-air, with the interviews. Honey really helped me lay the foundation for my expertise and my ability to make things go viral on the internet and on Instagram and TikTok and all that. Do I consider myself an artist and what I do as an art form? Well, I had a conversation the other day with Big Boogie, and Big Boogie and I were talking about, being around people who also have gotten it out the way that we've gotten it out the mud and what we've kind of created on our own, and also separating ourselves from the people who we were around when we were growing up. And I think that when you look at it and when having that conversation with him, it kind of made me realize that what we do is an art form. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, like, everything in this studio was created by me, by Rob, by the people who have been a part of On the Radar. You know what I'm saying? The logo came from just an image in my mind. Like, I don't know if I have the old sketches somewhere in my house, but I have old sketches of this logo before it was even made into like an actual JPEG, PNG image. So and of course, interviewing itself is an art form, and I think that, the art form of interviewing has been really lost in today's day and age, because everybody only focuses about getting a clickbait, or getting a popular headline instead of focusing on the artist itself and actually telling their story. And I'm a big believer, and I also took this from Angie, I'm a big believer in I'd rather do 10 interviews with an artist and all those interviews together lead up to like 10 million views and get one viral clip off an artist for 10 million views and then ruin a relationship. Because relationships are more important than anything in this industry, and I think in this day and age with interviews, people forget that. And people forget how one question and one comment can impact a person's, not only their career, but it can impact their whole life. So I think that there is an art form to doing interviews. Obviously with the freestyles, there's always an art form to doing that. Even with social media itself is an art form if you know how to do it the right way and you know what you're creating. And I know some people might be like, oh, but that's wrong. No, like, everything came from something, and everything in itself is its own art form. And I think it's just like you have to learn to navigate and how to create it within that lane of art for it to become relevant. And, luckily enough that we've been able to do that with On the Radar. Once Angie took me out of St. John's and put me in the radio station, I worked at Power 105.1 I'm still at Power 105.1, so I've been there since I was 19. I'm turning 27 this year. So almost 8 years I've been at Power 105. And then, where else did I work? Oh, and then I worked at Sirius XM for a little while on a political commentary show, which was super dope. And then I did Shade 45 with Lord Sear, also a radio legend. If you don't know who Lord Sear is, do your homework on Lord Sear. Lord Sear is a GOAT in this shit. So yeah, those were my jobs before doing this. What made me decide to go full on with my grind? Well, I think like in life there's, you could have a plan B, but I don't think having a plan B is worth it for a lot of people, because like plan A should always be your main focus. And I think, it's like that image of the two people who are both digging for diamonds and one person gives up, but the diamond is right there and the other person kept digging and he found the diamond. I think it's just like that. I think everybody, if you have a passion in this life and there's something that you want to achieve, it's achievable. Because everybody, I feel like, who wants something, whether it's in music, film, entertainment, or in any other lane, the moment to level up and to reach and become the person you were meant to be, like, that opportunity exists there for you. It's just knowing when that opportunity is and just realizing that sometimes that opportunity isn't going to come in 1 month, 2 months, maybe not even in 2 or 3 years, but you really have to grind and keep working for it. I think that's kind of just what happened with me and On the Radar. Like, I was doing one interview a week on The Radar. I was like, yo, nobody young my age is really doing it from New York. I wanted to kind of become that voice during the SoundCloud era for the youth, and I just kept at it. And then once the pandemic hit and I had nothing to do, and I was still had my full-time job at Power doing social media, I was like, man, fuck it, I'm gonna just do mad Zoom interviews. And I just started making connections on Zoom, doing 10 to 15 Zoom interviews a week, and then that 10 to 15 Zoom interviews a week started correlating to 10 to 15 On the Radar in-person interviews a week once we opened back up and people were coming to the city. And, we got to get in touch with a lot of the drill scene out here. So I think it's really about just, like, knowing, like, if you know it's your passion, and I know it sounds corny to, like, say, like, don't give up, because everybody always says don't give up, but it's coming from people who really didn't give up and who went through all those trials and tribulations to get where we are today. So we know what it's like to be at the very bottom, have no money, have nothing to our name, and almost losing everything just for our passion. But on the other side of that is the light, and that's what's really is the special part about it. And that's why I always tell people, I'm like, look, you might be like, oh, I've been grinding for 10 years. Yeah, but you never know, in that 11th year might be the year you got your hit single. You know what I'm saying? Or you get the job promotion that you need, or you become the SVP of your company. You never know. But if you give up too early, you're never going to be able to see the pot of gold on the other side. So that's that. So that's funny. So a lot of people think it's like D-Thang, right? But the first viral moment for On the Radar was actually Nicki Minaj reposting an interview that I did with Malibu Mitch at Rolling Loud in 2019. I had asked Malibu Mitch her top five. Did I say top five female artists or top five? I don't remember. It was either top five female artists or top five artists of all time. And she said Nicki, and I was on vacation in Florida a week after, and my phone starts like buzzing, and it was all my people hitting me up like, yo, Nicki posted you, Nicki posted you, Nicki posted you. So the first viral moment for On the Radar and what I do as an interviewer was actually with Nicki Minaj reposting a Malibu Mitch clip. I don't remember how many views that clip got on Twitter, but I just remember it got retweeted like 30, 40, 50,000 times, whatever it was. And that was super dope for me. I ain't gonna lie, that was really tough. Some of my goals was obviously having a successful radio show. Of course, I always wanted to start a record label and do a clothing brand since I was a kid. I haven't accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish. Like, I would say, I feel like I'm never going to be done trying to accomplish my goals because I feel like the journey is what makes it fun. But once you get to the end goal, it's just kind of like, okay, now I'm here. Now what's next? But On the Radar isn't even close to where I want it to be yet. I still feel like I'm just getting started. Like every day I walk in here, I'm like, nah, this is like, just because we have a couple videos with like over 10 million views, to me, it doesn't mean anything. It just means that like, all right, cool, we did that. Now what's next? Like, how do we achieve what we want to continue to achieve? How do we become even more legendary than we were yesterday? Because I'm not going to be happy, or I'm not going to, well, I want to say I'm happy, but I'm not going to feel like I've completed the mission until like On the Radar is the biggest music platform in the world. You know what I'm saying? In all genres. And that's really the end goal for me. And when it comes with like doing the record label stuff, obviously we got the record label going right now. No artists are being signed to us yet because that's not really our focus right now. Our focus right now is just getting out dope music, and me kind of like DJ drama, hosting some tapes and whatnot. And then also on top of that, just releasing as many freestyles under the On the Radar banner as we can for the people who've been, you know, fucking with us for so long, who've been asking for them. And as for the clothing, obviously On the Radar merch right here. You know what I'm saying? Shout out Don't Watch TV. Shout out Big Griselda. All my people over there. This is actually, hopefully by the time y'all seeing this is on sale. But the clothing brand, you know, ever since I was a kid and I was skateboarding a lot and I would be wearing Diamond Supply Co. and all these other skate brands and working at Tilly's and being in Zoomies, like I always wanted my own clothing brand for myself. So it's cool that we're kind of creating a space with On the Radar where we're making clothing that isn't, you know, just random merch for a show, and we're not just, you know, slapping a logo on something. We're just like, we're making real pieces of clothing. So I'm really proud of what we've done so far with this hoodie, and this is really just a start for it. Like, I'm not going to be successful until millions of people around the world are wearing On the Radar apparel. So those are kind of my goals walking into this industry. Have we achieved milestones in those goals? Yes. Have we achieved the final goal? No. And I don't know when I'm going to achieve that goal or if I'll ever achieve that goal, but all I know is that, you know, I'm 10 toes in, no plan B, only plan A, On the Radar, the records, the shop, the show, and nothing but that going on right now. So I hope that answers the question.
What's been the hardest thing about being an independent platform?
The hardest thing about being an independent platform is everybody thinks I'm rich. Everybody thinks I'm just automatically rich because I have a poppin' show. Nah, I think of like running an independent platform the same way an artist like runs their music career. Like if you ask any artist, when I had 600 Breezy on my show back in the summertime, Breezy and I had a great conversation as investing yourself as an artist. And I believe he told me the story about how someone had left him 30K and he invested the 30K. But 30K isn't even a big investment for an artist to make in themselves when they're first starting off a career. Like if you really want to become a successful artist in this industry, you're easily investing hundreds of thousands of dollars into yourself before you even have a hit record, right? And I still feel that way with On the Radar. Like I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into this brand, but the brand hasn't become the point where, you know, I could be like the Angie Martinez's or the Breakfast Clubs of the world. Like we're not there yet, you know what I'm saying? And once we get there, I feel like, you know, then I've really accomplished that. But I think that's like the hardest part about being an independent platform is just kind of managing your time, managing your money, and building a good team around you who believes in the vision and who's gonna stick 10 toes down for you. Same type of way, 10 toes down until we up. So that would definitely be the hardest part. I'm not rich. I wish I was rich. But I love making content, and we're going to get there, and we're going to do what we got to do. And, you know, go cop you some hoodies. Help me get some money. Fund On the Radar. You know what I'm saying? You have to indulge yourself in what other people are doing, but also not indulge yourself so much to the point where you're, like, copying people or, you know, you become too much like them. I think it's like the same way with an artist. Like if I sat here and I listened, and I was a rapper and I listened to, I don't know like I listen to Lil Durk all day. I might start flowing like Lil Durk over beats, right? But that's just because that's what I've been listening to. I think it's like there's a healthy balance with like again being inspired by somebody, but without having to copy them. Because I think when you copy somebody, that's when you fall. You lose your lack of originality, obviously, but there's still little things here and there that you could take. Like, we about to take the show on tour, and we about to go to different cities and kind of do different sets. And then, like, I give my credit where credit is due. Like, if Four Shooters Only and Aze never started doing the hanging mic thing, I may have never even thought of this idea. You know what I'm saying? Even though it's not the same thing that we're doing at them at all because we don't have a hanging mic, it's live audio, freestyle, like that piece of what he does still inspired me. And even things like what Breakfast Club does and what Angie do, LA Leakers Flex, like all that stuff is like, it's all inspiration. But the thing is like, you have to there's a fine line between being inspired and copying people. And you just gotta make sure that like whatever, as a content creator, you stick to your guns about being as original as you, because at the end of the day, people don't like watching copycats. People like watching original content and someone that they can buy into and someone that they can feel that they're a fan of and also feel like they're a part of the platform itself in some ways too. So I think that's what makes what we do special, because like I said at the beginning of our conversation, On the Radar is really an amalgamation of everybody who's come before us, but we're not copying anybody. We're just inspired by everybody. We show love, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's like, I hope that answers that question correctly, but I feel like, when you look at these bigger platforms, they exist for a reason, but they exist because of their originality, but that originality also comes through inspiration from other people. And I think that's how you create a successful platform, having a nice balance of both. Where do I go when I'm trying to recoup my energy and refresh and all that? So there's like a few different cities that I like to go to. Well, one, first of all, I love being in the crib. You know what I'm saying? I'm big on playing the crib. I'm big on just being like by myself sometimes, watching movies, doing absolutely nothing. But then like two of my favorite cities to go to are Orlando and Houston. And like Orlando and Houston are just cities that I've visited over my life that I've just consistently been at. They've also kind of become like second homes to me. And what's great about those cities is just like I feel like there I'm free. Like I feel like here in New York, I'm always in work mode. I'm always on go mode. I'm always on 100. But when I'm in those cities, I feel like Gabe is just like gets to be Gabe. You know what I'm saying? I told somebody this the other day. I'm like, the hardest part for me is separating Gabe P from Gabe. And what I get to be in those cities is just Gabe. I get to just be me. I get to just chill. I get my car. You know what I'm saying? I get a nice little Hellcat, nice little charger, and we just get to relax, refresh the batteries. All that. And when I'm out there, I just be going out. I got a lot of friends out there, you know what I'm saying? Houston, y'all already know where I be at in Houston. I'm not gonna say their name anymore because I feel like I always say their name. And we just kind of chill, drink, a little smoke, and it's a good time. Where do I see myself this time next year, and how do I plan on getting there? Well, this time next year, I want On the Radar to have 1 million subs, 1,000%. You know what I'm saying? If not, we're gonna be right at 1 million subs. I want to have at least 1 million streams. Online, which we kind of already there, right? John, where's John at? Okay, we close to 100,000 streams online already, just on our Spotify and Apple Music and the rest of DSPs alone. So I definitely think we're gonna hit that milli. So I'm gonna aim for 2 million streams by the end of the year. I want to have released a ton of clothing by then. You know what I'm saying? On the Radar hoodies out now. Want to do some T-shirts. Some in the fall, I kind of want to do like a little athletic apparel line, kind of like university themed. And by this time next year, man, I just want to be able to look back at like today and what we're doing here today and what we've done at this point and just be able to like look back and be proud of it. You know, at the end of the day, man, like I care so much about what we do it On the Radar that as long as like I can look at this show a year from now and be able to say that I didn't compromise my integrity, I didn't compromise who I was, and I didn't compromise the show, I think that itself is enough of a win for me. And that sounds corny, but it's true because the integrity and our honor is all we have at the end of the day sometimes. So, the success is great and I love the success and I can't wait to have more of it, but also like I don't want to compromise the things that, and the initial things that help build this platform and help build me and who I am. So when I look back a year from now, that's what I hope to see, and I know I will see it because we're not going nowhere. And yeah, stream On the Radar on DSPs. It's no secret that I love like comic books and things like that. Like that's been a big thing. Like I had a podcast with Charlemagne right before the pandemic happened that ran for, I think we did 18 episodes before everything shut down. Comic Kings, you can still check it out, still available everywhere. I would love to get back into like the comic book industry and getting to do things in that lane again too, because honestly that like, we were talking about how Gabe decompresses a few questions ago. Like I really decompress by just watching mad comic book movies and like nerd shit. Like that's my escape from all of this, right? So I would love to find a way to kind of merge my love for that and merge, what I do with it, whether it be starting another podcast in that lane or kind of, jumping more into that lane with like comicbook.com or those type of things. Because I feel like that's really where my secondary passion lies in terms of this. Like music always takes the forefront. Music is always number one. But on the background, like the comic book industry, like I would love to do, Marvel every year does Marvel Voices. And they have really dope creators write certain panels. I would love to get into writing and do some stuff with that. Shout out Rob Markman, shout out Charlamagne the God. They both written for Marvel Voices in the past. So I would love to do that in the future. And I know it's going to happen because it's meant to be. It's meant to be. Just the love of music and comics is there, and I really want to do that. So I would say hop into the comic book lane. That's really my shit. Yes, sir, baby. It's Mr. On the Radar Radio, Gabe P. Mr. Step In, Step Out, don't get stepped on. And my daily gem is make sure that when you're creating and when you're taking this time to, whether you're in music, you're a podcaster, if you're in entertainment or you're a creative, make sure you take some time to yourself. That has been the thing that I've had the hardest time doing, but it's the thing that I've been trying to work on the most, right? And I think as creators, we often get caught up in the grind and we get caught up in the whirlwind of what we're doing and how we're doing it, and in the excitement of when things are going well, that we forget to take the time to ourselves. We forget to take the time to make sure that we're mentally good, we're physically good, and even when it comes down to the food we're eating, that we're making sure that to be the best version of ourselves, that we're keeping ourselves healthy, right? So I would tell everybody, make sure that you make the time for yourself, because you're just as important as the work you're doing, and you can't be the best you if you're not taking care of yourself. That's my daily gem. Bah!
The Daily Gems. Yeah!